Are you sick and tired of gambling your hard-earned money on Madden packs? Look no further than my sponsor, MMOEXP, for the cheapest and most reliable MUT coins on the market. And don't forget to use code Ferdy at checkout for 5% off. What's going on, guys? Today we have the first safety tier list of Madden 24. And of course, we have free safeties and we have strong safeties all on one tier list. We're going to break them down. Who's good to play over the top? Who's good to user? Let's get started. And we do have a giveaway going on right now for the launch of Madden 24. 5 winners. All you have to do is follow those instructions on your screen right now, and instead of DMing me on Twitter, just reply to my pinned tweet with proof. And for our shout out of the day, it goes to my man Cooper for commenting the emoji on last video. And for today's emoji of the day, let's do the apple emoji. Comment the apple emoji for a chance to be shouted out in the next video. Let's get started on this tier list. Okay, the first card we're looking at today is a card that everybody has on their account if they've been playing the game over the last week, and that is Eric Berry. It will take a little bit of time for you to accumulate enough tokens to fully upgrade him, but we do have him right now on a 25 theme team, and I like this card on a theme team, man. 84 speed, 85 acceleration, even 83 speed's pretty solid, has good zone, good man, but a really good user because of that good tackling stat and a good weight and a good hit power. The card plays really solid for an early game safety. And also, yeah, having that good zone as a run support guy, having that good zone and, you know, being a user at 6 foot is really nice. So Eric Berry, I would recommend trying to use this guy on a theme team, obviously. He does get all 32 team chems, and keep in mind, if there was like a +1 speed strat card, it would be very expensive right now. So building a 25 theme team, you know, if you buy golds and backups, it wouldn't be that expensive. If you try to build around either like common players you have or a team you're a fan of, I would say is definitely worth it. And next man up is Isaiah Simmons, and he kind of does everything that Eric Berry does as a user, but I would say a little bit better. He's a little bit slower, but he is 6'4" and weighs a lot more than Eric Berry. Also 85 hit power is really nice, and what was his tackling stat? Even 80 tackling. And obviously Isaiah Simmons in the league right now is kind of like a mix, you know, linebacker, safety, hybrid kind of guy. Well, you know, he's the definition of that. So, yeah, Isaiah Simmons is a great user. Even over the top, I'm sure this card would play okay, but I think it's going to be a user for this card where he's going to play the best. I played against him a couple times, and his size just clogs up the run game, even just getting in the way and just, you know, making you all the second thoughts, making you think twice is what I was trying to say when throwing the ball, because he's so fast and so long pause, but he can kind of get everywhere. So, to me, Isaiah Simmons, he was going for a lot for a while. His price has kind of dropped a little bit. So if you've waited off on him, definitely worth it. But he's one of the best users in this game right now, going for a pretty fair price. So Isaiah Simmons in front of Eric Berry, but 6'4", 83 speed, good hit power, good tackling stats. He is a phenomenal user option right now in the game. The next card up is Kyle Hamilton, and take everything I've said about, you know, Isaiah Simmons a second ago and apply that to Kyle Hamilton. But this card can actually do a little bit more. Good zone coverage, good man coverage, which is also good for manning up running backs, things like that. But good tackling, good hit power at 6'4", 220. Him and Isaiah Simmons are so similar. The only difference is going to be the price tag on these two cards. I mean, Simmons is much cheaper than Hamilton, basically because of overall. But both cards are really, really good. You can't go wrong with either. I think Hamilton has a slight advantage over Isaiah Simmons, but obviously it is close. But, you know, as far as price differential, you know, if you're not trying to spend, if you don't have a Ravens team or you're trying to save some coin, I mean, Simmons isn't that much worse than Kyle Hamilton. It's not worth the price differential, if you know what I mean. So Kyle Hamilton, definitely a top of A tier. And next man up is Jair Brown. And this card is honestly pretty solid. He can kind of do everything. He can play corner. He can even stop the run. His zone coverage is a little bit tough, but I was actually using him in the slot for a little bit until I got all my RPs when they were loading in. I was trying him in the slot, and the card played pretty well with 83 man coverage. The pursuit's a little bit low, but good tackling and 86 hit power with 84 speed, 84 acceleration is pretty good. 85 COD as well. If you want to user this card, you definitely could. I feel like he's probably better in coverage because he has good coverage stats, but if you wanted to user him, I mean, the only reason why I would kind of recommend against that is because of the height, but I mean, Eric Berry's 6 foot and he plays fine for me, so I'm sure you'd be fine using the card. I haven't tried that, but looking at these stats, I think he would be okay, but I played him in coverage. The card played well. Good run stopper out there. Use him wherever you feel like he'd fit. I mean, I feel like he can do a lot of things. So Jair Brown, we're going to put him in between Kevin Byard and Kyle Duggar at A tier. But I know unless you did Aiden Hutchinson, you probably didn't do this card set because he was really bad in 23. But he translated and he glowed up here in Madden 24, that's for sure. And next up, we have CJ Gardner-Johnson, CJ GJ. This card, I've heard great things about him. I've heard great things about CJ Gardner-Johnson. 84 speed, 85 acceleration, 85 zone coverage. Definitely would recommend playing this card over the top, especially with kind of low hit power. Against the run, he might get trampled a lot, is one thing I've noticed. Guys with higher hit power, guys with better strength, those stats matter this year, as well as weight also really matters this year. I noticed as far as tackling guys backwards, if you notice, a lot of your guys are, a lot of the runs you're going forwards because you're probably using a safety that doesn't have good strength or good tackling. That's why they're getting driven backwards. Obviously, it's not worth the risk sometimes. But CJ Gardner-Johnson, 84 speed, 85 acceleration, 5'11", 80 COD. We're going to put CJ Gardner-Johnson. Again, I recommend playing this card over the top. We're going to put him, let's put him at A tier. I'm going to put him at A tier for sure. Mid to low A tier for CJ Gardner-Johnson. And next up, we have 84 Ed Reed, the Legend Collectible. And I talked about this in yesterday's video, the cornerback tier list. But we're at that point of the year where these collectibles, these Legend Collectibles are actually pretty viable. That you can run them if you wanted to. And I feel like later in the year, you really can't do this. But I mean, 84 speed, 85 acceleration, 85 zone coverage, even good enough man. Good play rec as well. If we head down here, he's good after the catch. If you want to put him on kick return or something like that. And then he's even got 70 tackling and 80 block shed basically, and 83 hit power. So Ed Reed's really nice. If you want to run, he's very similar to CJ Gardner-Johnson in my opinion. So if you wanted to run CJ Gardner-Johnson at strong safety, Ed Reed over the top on the other side. I mean, they're very similar cards, which just one's a free safety, one's a strong safety. That's the only real difference. But they're both very similar. And CJ Gardner-Johnson's going for about 100K. Ed Reed got down pretty low yesterday, but I think he's kind of gone up in price a little bit. And next up, we have Grant Delpit. And normally I would recommend using Grant Delpit. But with 84 speed, 85 acceleration right now, and safety's a pretty thin position right now, I would honestly say play this card over the top. And I usually wouldn't say this when it comes to Grant Delpit cards, but he's got good zone. Even against the run, he'd be really good too. The play rec's even pretty high on this card, but 6'3". Obviously, you can use this card, but I think right now, until we start seeing a little bit more fast cards in this game, I would recommend playing him over the top. And then once we start seeing more speed, move him down to user, and then eventually off the squad. But he's good over the top right now. And I would put him over Kyle Hamilton, Isaiah Simmons, even though he's 1 inch shorter. That speed's important. Also has some slightly better stats. So I'm gonna put we're gonna put Grant Delpit at the top of A tier, but a good user and got a good guy for over the top. Good size, good weight, can really do everything. Okay, now we have Derwin James, and to me, Derwin James is S tier. He's our first S tier card here today. Derwin cards always play amazing, and this one's gonna be no different. 86 acceleration, 84 speed, good play rec, good pursuit, can play man, can play zone, has good hit power, good size, good weight, and if you've been watching the strength on all these safeties, 67 strength is pretty good for a safety right now. 82 COD. Obviously, can play over the top, can play in the box. I feel like, kind of the same spiel I gave you with Grant Delpit. Play him over the top for now, but then move him down as speed kind of gets a little bit faster. Because as a user, this card's pretty solid. Like I said, good strength, good hit power, good tackling. He's going to feel really solid. Obviously, he has a pretty crazy price tag. But Derwin James, I think without question, is our first S tier card on today's tier list. The Correlate Derwin James and Derwin cards always play well. That's a little rule of thumb. Whenever a new Derwin comes out, he's usually top 3 at his position. And next up, we have another card that will end up in S tier, and that is Cameron Curl. 85 speed, 88 acceleration, 85 zone. I mean, you could use this card if you wanted to. He's got crazy good tackling, 64 strength. But I like Cam Curl over the top. This card plays really well, and I do believe, 85 speed is going to get phased out. It's going to happen eventually. So when it does, Cam Curl is going to be I don't know what his price will get down to, but he could be a pretty good user. He definitely could be. I mean, the COD 81 is not the greatest, but he's got crazy good tackling stats, decent strength. I kind of wish he was a little bit heavier, but for a user, but he's going to be a really good user. Obviously, over the top right now, he's super elite. He's definitely, I think, the best over the top strong safety in the game right now. Just looking at all the stats, you know what I mean? Like, he's ridiculous, even crazy good pursuit. The play rec's crazy. So, yeah, Cameron Curl, I would say, honestly, is a must-have card right now. I think if you don't have Cameron Curl on your team, for the price tag he's going for, and keep in mind, when Headliners Part 2 comes out, his price will drop a little bit because there'll be a lot more cards in circulation. So keep that in mind if you want to buy this card. But I think he is a must-have as far as his price and his production. I mean, also, he won't really phase out in your team because, like I said, that's why I like safeties so much. Especially B&D safeties. You buy them, you can get them when they're super elite and play them over the top. When their speed's elite, but then as they phase out, you can kind of move them down to user, where it comes down to your reaction, your stick as far as usering goes. So yeah, Cameron Curl, I think, is definitely a must-have card right now in this game. The next man up is Team Builder Joey Blunt, 85 speed with 86 acceleration and 85 man coverage. So Joey Blunt, I think, is going to be a good user right now. If you can somehow get him into the user spot, he's going to be a really good user because of the speed and the acceleration as well as the COD, and he's 6'1". But as far as playing him over the top, if he's playing zone over the top, he might not be the greatest option because he only has 78 zone coverage. But if you can get him in those man scenarios, you know, a little comparison, if you, I mean, you may have not used this card, but I did talk about him in this video. Jair Brown, Joey Blunt is like a much better Jair Brown, almost like that, where he's a very unique safety that can play man coverage. Maybe you can try to put him at slot corner, put him out of position in your lineup. That's where that card honestly might be pretty good there, because with coverage stats like this, he's a pretty elite corner in the game as well, as far as speed and acceleration and man coverage goes. But if you can use the card, that's a big W. Yeah, as far as over the top goes, like I don't know if he can really be that. So with that being said, Joey Blunt, I'm gonna put him at low S tier because on a safety, to me, I feel like I value zone a lot more than man coverage, especially on a safety. So I'm gonna put Joey Blunt. He's still really good. Don't get me wrong, the card is still a monster, but I'm gonna put him at a low S tier. Although people may have thought he'd be a little bit higher, but yeah, no, maybe not. Yeah, low S tier is fair for Joey Blunt. The next man up is Minkah Fitzpatrick, 84 speed with 86 acceleration, and you see the strength right there. But they actually gave him pretty good tackling stats this year. There's been Minkah Fitzpatrick cards in the past that cannot tackle a lick, but this guy's got 76 tackling, 82 hit power is solid, but obviously it's for that zone coverage, 86 zone coverage, 85 pursuit, so solid against the run, 81 COD as well. A really good over the top option. Is what Minkah Fitzpatrick is. Good acceleration, good size. So Minkah, I was considering putting Minkah a high A tier, but I'm going to put him low S tier. He's got a price tag on him. He definitely does. If you got a Steelers team, great. But, you know, this card's going to play well. This card's going to play well. Even despite having 84 speed, that zone coverage is going to help cover it up, as well as having good pursuit and good play rec. So I'm going to put Minkah Fitzpatrick at low S tier, but debatably high A tier. I'd hear a debate for either, honestly, but I'm going to put him at low S. And if I could, I would put an S+ tier on this tier list right now, because I think Ed Reed is a step, maybe even 2 steps ahead of every other safety here on this tier list right now. Cam Curl is the only close one, but 87 speed with 88 acceleration, and he hits 90 zone base. So as an over-the-top guy, monster. And even a beast against the run with 87 hit power, 84 play rec, 200 pounds, 65 strength, by the way. Even with a good impact block, could be your kick returner too. But 80 block shed. It's actually kind of crazy that his 84 only has 1 less block shed than his 87. But Ed Reed is the best safety right now in this game. Going for about 340,000 coins right now while I'm recording this, which is, you know, Cam Curl's like what, like 170, 180 right now. But if I could put an S+ tier, Ed Reed would be on there because he's a step ahead of these guys. And yeah, I mean, the safeties are kind of thin right now. The safety position right now is kind of thin as far as speed goes. Like, we have 84 speed guys in S tier, because there just isn't that much depth at this position. I mean, Ed Reed's miles better than some other guys at S tier, which you don't see often on these tier list videos. But yeah, I guess our top 5, Ed Reed, a large gap. I mean, not a large gap. Ed Reed, a gap, Cam Curl, and then a little bit of a gap, and then Derwin James, Joey Blunt, Minkah Fitzpatrick. That's how I would rank these guys, but that's the top 5 safeties. Let me know who's too high. Let me know who's too low. Comment the emoji of the day down below. And as always, I'll see you boys in the next one.